Hello, my name is Brad Schneider, and I'm here to bring you another segment in our series on beef quality assurance. Today we are in Cozad, Nebraska at Will Feed Incorporated. Will Feed Incorporated is a small family-owned cattle feeding operation in central Nebraska. Today's segment will focus on the importance of keeping accurate and detailed records on your operation. As our industry is under ever-increasing scrutiny from outside groups, the importance of accurate and detailed records cannot be overstated. They are your proof that you're in compliance with all applicable rules and regulations, that you responsibly use pharmaceutical products, and that you are a detail-oriented manager dedicated to improving the efficiency on your operation. I'm here with Ann Burkholder, General Manager for Will Feed Incorporated. Ann has been active in the day-to-day management of the feed yard for the past 12 years. Ann, can you tell us about how you got involved with the BQA program?
I got involved in the Beef Quality Assurance Program in 1997 when I moved to Nebraska and began working at the feed yard. I was looking for management tools and ways to educate myself so that I could offer good care to my animals and produce safe beef.
Can you tell us some of the types of record keeping that you keep here on your feed yard?
Absolutely. We keep records about everything. We have records of how we handle cattle when they come in. We have records of how we process cattle. That would include the animal health products that we use, as well as the serial numbers and the withdrawal times and the route of administration. We keep records of when we move cattle through the feed yard. We keep records of rations as we move cattle up onto feed. We keep shipment records. We keep records of all of our animal health products when they come into the feed yard, as well as when we use them. And then we double check all of those records before we ship animals. So you name it, I've got a standard protocol for it. It's part of the way that I try to make sure that I have the tools that I need to do a good job, and my crew has the tools that they need as well.
How have these records improved your efficiency as an operation?
I believe that record keeping is the core of a good operation. We have a very, very low pull rate here at the feed yard. It's well less than 5%. We also have a very low death loss rate here. And I believe all of those things are tied in with good record keeping and passing information up and down the beef chain. So they play an integral role with that. The other thing that we do here is we feed a lot of age and source verified cattle. And so I'm tracing cattle from a source and a birth date all the way through the feed yard and to the packing plant, and that enables me to sell those calves for more money.
What advice would you offer to producers who could use a little improvement in their record keeping?
Record keeping is so important. You know, 20 years ago we thought we were in the grass business, or we thought we were in the cattle business, and we very rarely thought about the fact that we were in the beef business. And it's so important for us today to make that transition, because what a cow-calf operator does on the ranch is going to affect that calf throughout his life. And I need to know what happens on the ranch so that I can deal with them appropriately when they're in the feed yard, and I can send the highest quality beef to the packing plant. I believe that I'm in the business of caring for animals, and I'm in the business of caring for animals that I'm going to harvest to feed to my children and your children and children all over the world. And that puts me in the beef business. And we need to be vertically collaborative with our record keeping all throughout the beef industry so that we can make sure we set those calves up for success and produce the safest beef possible.
There are several basic record categories that are important to producers throughout every step of the chain.
Every animal in our facility has an individual identification number. It doesn't matter if it's a commodity calf or a niche verified calf. Every animal in our facility has an individual tag number. So if we pull and treat a calf with an antibiotic because they get sick, all of that information is tied back to that individual identifier. We also record how much the animal weighs, what his temperature was, why he was pulled, the date that he was pulled, what he was treated with, and then we figure the withdrawal down at the bottom of the sheet. So we keep all of that information so that we can track that individual calf in terms of withdrawal, and then in terms of performance as well. We track most of our animals from ranch to rail. So we're looking at performance both at the cow-calf operation in the feed yard and then at the packing plant. And so keeping that individual data enables us to be able to trace that calf individually all throughout its lifetime.
It's very important to keep track of animals the entire time they're on your operation, starting when they arrive.
Receiving records would be documenting when the actual pharmaceuticals arrived at the feed yard. We'll have an invoice from the veterinary clinic. We'll also have a record of when that particular bottle with that particular serial number was opened and used and then was finished. So those are kind of receiving records in terms of when pharmaceuticals would come on the place. In addition to that, we keep inventory records. We check our inventories once a month. We also are measuring our bottles when we do that to ensure that what's actually in the bottle is what's supposed to be on the piece of paper as well. We weigh everything individually in our squeeze chute so that we can individually figure dosages when we're talking about using antibiotics. So we try to do a really good job of making sure that we use the right antibiotic and we use it at the right dose level and very specifically in terms of that particular animal. And I think all of that comes into record keeping as well. It's just doing all the little things right to make sure that we're judiciously using our antibiotics and we're documenting when we're using them.
Treatment records are important to assure good communication with the veterinarian to prevent drug residues and to track total herd health performance.
We keep both group treatment records and individual animal health treatment records for all of our animals here at the feed yard. We individually identify every animal that's on feed here so that we can trace those animals all the way through their life cycle. But we do also keep some group records as well. When cattle come into the facility, we always vaccinate them. I try to tailor a vaccination program according to what those animals have had earlier in their life. And we'll keep vaccination and worming records for the groups of cattle themselves. And it'll involve keeping track of not only what vaccines we use, but the serial numbers that we use of those vaccines, how they were administered. Generally, everything we give here is subcutaneous. Who administered them, the date of administration, as well as what the withdrawal will be when the animals are clear to go to harvest. So for processing records, we keep group records. If we need to pull an animal for an individual treatment, whether they're limping and have a problem with a foot or whether they have a respiratory infection and need an antibiotic, we keep all of those records according to the individual animal. So we'll take the ear tag numbers of the calf. In fact, many of the calves in our yard are carrying 2 different individual identifiers. We'll record all those numbers along with what the animal weighed, what his temperature was, why he was pulled, the date that he was pulled, what antibiotic was administered, what level that antibiotic was administered at, and then also what the withdrawal will be on the calf.
Record keeping relative to feedstuffs is an important step in assuring animal performance and health.
We maintain very detailed records on our feedstuffs coming into the facility because we strive to provide consistent and high quality feed to our animals. Providing a consistent supply of high quality feed is what's going to enable our animals to use the natural resources that we're putting in front of them the best way that they can to put on as many pounds of great beef as possible. So we keep track of batches when feed comes to the facility. We'll keep track of who it comes from. We'll have an invoice that states who hauled the feed, as well as how many tons and when it was batched and all of that stuff. We also test our feed at least once a month to make sure, and we send it to an independent laboratory, to make sure that what we're delivering to the feed bunk is actually what we think we're delivering. So we'll test the quality of our wet distillers grains, we'll test the quality of our mineral supplement, we'll test the quality of our forages and our rolled corn as well. So we're maintaining records and we're testing our ingredients at least once a month.
Proper storage and handling of farm chemicals is vital to implementing a beef quality system.
In keeping with the HACCP philosophy of beef quality assurance, we try to make sure that we set up our operations so that nothing's going to go wrong that isn't supposed to. So we have a separate building that we keep our pesticides and our herbicides in. The building is locked and that's the only thing that's stored there. And it's very far removed from any of our feedstuffs. And so having it that way enables us to make sure that there's absolutely no way that the wrong thing is going to get in the feed truck and delivered to our cattle.
Recording important information from the healthcare products purchased and used on an operation are central to meeting BQA standards.
We keep an inventory record of all the pharmaceuticals that come onto our place. We inventory when they come in, what the serial numbers are, and then also when we administer them. And our individual treatment sheets then are tied back to those incoming record-keeping systems showing when the products actually showed up on our place. So we do that in terms of an inventory coming in. I also take a monthly inventory of all the products that we have housed so that I can use that as a check and balance system in terms of our individual record keeping. How much of one product did we use, and does that match with where we started at the month and where we ended at the month? And so we use a couple of different record keeping programs or record keeping styles in order to ensure that we've got a checks and balances system in place for the amount of product that we're using.
Appropriate collection and storage of healthcare records assists producers in monitoring effectiveness of the herd health program while providing vital data in the event of a disease outbreak or government audit.
We keep all of our records for 3 years after the cattle ship. That enables us to be able to go out and pull information on animals that have already entered the food supply if for some reason there is a problem. We just keep everything for at least 3 years. Most of the things actually we keep for longer than that. And to be honest with you, I use that historical data. The rancher might call me and ask a question after his cattle have shipped, and so if I have those records, I can go look and tell him exactly what we used on his cattle and why we used it, because I have all of those as well. So it's not just as a safety standpoint to make sure that my beef is safe, it's also a management tool so that I can pass that information on back to the rancher, and he can use that to better manage his herd as well.
Record keeping is hard work, but it is a key part in the long-term success of a cattle operation.
Keeping records is your absolute best insurance policy. It documents that you've done a good job and that you've done the right thing. The beef industry is made up of great stockmen. We provide good care for our animals, but sometimes we get a little bit lazy about writing down what we've done. It really is the best protection for your business, your livelihood, for your animals, and for the beef that they're producing, to document all of the things that you're doing.
As our industry faces ever-increasing scrutiny from outside groups, the importance of accurate records cannot be overstated. Accurate records are your proof that you are in compliance with all applicable rules and regulations, that you are judicious and responsible in your use of pharmaceutical products, and that you are a detail-oriented manager dedicated to improving the efficiency of everything on your operation.